the force be with you is a phrase used to wish a person well to overcome a challenge. The invitation in this podcast, May the life force be with you, is to explore what it means to truly feel alive, to appreciate the physical, emotional and spiritual connection to our energy, and finally to understand how this impacts who you are and all that you do. May this conversation inspire you to thrive. Hi, Kahreela. How are you? How's your life force today?
My life force is good today, but it's like the first time in like 10 days. How's your life force?
I would say kind of similar.
Yeah.
It's felt like the middle of winter, even though it's summer here in the UK at the moment. And I think that weather changes what you can actually do and therefore what you think, because I haven't been able to move, I haven't been able to go to things that I enjoy because you literally haven't been able to leave the house. So it's kind of affected me a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think it's affected loads of people. I have to note how British we are. We talk about the weather at the start of this podcast.
Such a British thing. Apologies. Oh my goodness. But it we just can't help it.
That's how you start a conversation in this land.
But because, as I say, it impacts how you feel. It impacts what you can do. It impacts how you leave the house. I haven't had my windows open, let air in, let freshness in. You don't see people, you don't connect as much because you don't feel you can leave the house unless it's in a survival gear, that's normally only used for the North Sea oil rigs. It's like pretty intense the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and in this country we're really affected by the weather. I think because we have such changeable weather, and I know other places do as well, but it's like, so from a kind of chakras of the world point of view, Glastonbury is the heart chakra, and to me that kind of actually extends much more to like this land being the heart, and I feel like we have this heart connection to weather. It's like we have this like emotional journey with our weather in this country. And I also have this thing that I'm like obsessed with, which is that your heart, like our hearts also change like the British weather. Like if you want to know what the human heart is like, it is like the British weather. Because this is the heart chakra and it's that fickle.
and when you say that heart, it makes me think energy as well. So and the metaphors that we use, oh gosh, they've got a real dark cloud over them, or the things like that are more inclined, you don't often say sunny disposition, but we use the metaphors of the weather to indicate what someone's energy is like and feels like, or what they're showing up with, because it's, it's front and mind of what we think, and we know exactly what it feels like for someone to be a ray of sunshine. Yeah. Right.
You're right. We do describe life force with weather.
We do.
We absolutely do.
Oh, it's so dark and dismal, and in Scotland there's a wonderful word, dreich, which just is like...
just onomatopoeic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Or mizzle, that mizzle we've had. And you get the sense of the energy is directly related to weather, but then when you were talking there, it made me think of the irony of, we're in the summer, that Europe is having this massive heat wave and this like polar opposite that's happening a few hundred miles away, and how we're all impacted by weather, which is ultimately climate, which is all the other elements of the environments that we live in. And increasingly, I do think, not even increasingly, right now, we are impacted more than ever by our environment and what's around us. And so those metaphors that I'm using are actually for not just us as humans, but everybody. The whole planet's life force is dark cloud, you know, the intensity of the heat, the humidity, it's hot as hell, like all of those things that we use. I don't know what tangent I've gone off on there, but that's kind of like my trying to articulate what I felt when you said about us being connected to the heart, to the weather.
No,
also to
I
the land.
feel it. Yeah, it's like, how much is your life force actually the land? You know, like, how much are you just the body of the earth with life force flowing through it? I mean, that's a huge directional question.
So just so for maybe those that don't know what we're talking about land and chakra, where are some of the other important places in the world that like people are drawn to for different reasons? So Glastonbury is the heart.
So there's a lot of different theories out there, and for me, you know, you can talk about chakras and you can read about them in the body, on the planet. What I would say is that places that are considered chakras are potent with energy, and they're potent with energy that then resonates. Like Glastonbury resonates with the feeling, like not just Glastonbury, this land resonates with everything that the heart is about. This land, compared to most lands around the world, is so gentle. You know, we don't really, like, considering climate. We talk about the weather all the time.
Because it's so temperate. Yeah. That's why we talk about it, because it's so changeable, but actually only within a very small window of variance. Like, we don't get extremes, really.
And you know, I have a shaman friend who is like, when you're in the jungle, magic's really black and white. They have whole shops in Peru that are like black magic shops, and they sell black magic to people. It's a thing. Like, and it's not a thing in this country. And he's like, but that's because the jungle's black and white. You know, the medicine, the plants in the jungle, the land in the jungle,
they will either kill you or
is
cure
poison
you.
Or medicine. Like all magic is representational of the land. And he's like, in this country, Mother Earth is just a nanny. She's just like, there.
She's giving you potatoes.
There's metal, be careful. You know, that's about as bad as it gets.
But I've got your dock leaf just in case to give it a rub.
And I think that's why this country is considered the heart, because the land is you know, it's hilly and it's green and it's gentle,
fertile, and things grow.
Yeah, they grow without pressure. They grow without that like strength and that competition. They grow in this energy that is emotion and love, you know. And yeah, I mean, I think that it's so funny we've come onto land, because I'm about to go and do land, but my favourite part of my path is land ceremony and working with the land. And
yeah, tell when you say you're going to do the land, give us a flavour of what that ceremony.
So, like, ceremony with the land is when you, I guess all ceremony outside could be called ceremony with the land, is when you are not doing ceremony in a studio, yourself. But you're doing ceremony where you're in divine conversation with the land or the site or the place. And usually it is with the intention that is bigger than self. So self is a huge part of it, but like it's service work. It's to bless the land. It's to bless. To be in communion with the great changes, and to me I don't like to say things like true ceremony, because I feel like that's discrediting
any respectful engagement is
but to me, like, ancient ceremony was always land ceremony, because you didn't do ceremony inside. Like, ceremony was always about speaking to the elements and the old gods and nature
well,
and
that
land.
creates life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the sustainer of life as well.
Yeah.
Is the respect for the land, which we have gone so far off track.
And you know, at the moment, my ceremonial journey with the land is a mountain project that is taking me to different mountains. And you know, I was lying in bed last night, having just been through what I can only describe as 10 days of hell. Because the mountains I'm going to are not in the nanny of Mother Gaia. They're like, the next one's Shasta. So they're not in this like heart energy of Mother Earth. And I was lying in bed after what, was horrendously hard. As was the last mountain I went to, the preparation was horrendously hard. And I was thinking about like, oh my God, this preparation is so hard. And I realised that like that's the initiation. If you want to work with mountains, then you have to prove your strength, because you have to meet them at their level. Like, so they're going to make you show up in your strength. They're going to make you prove how strong you are if you want to work with them.
And so do you climb the mountains?
No.
What do you do that...
It's like working in the... Mountains have a huge aura, so you can work with a mountain, not even on the mountain. You can work on the mountain. It's working with the like energy and land of that mountain and the energy source of that mountain, I would say. And yeah, this journey is nuts.
And I guess for people that think, you know, what on earth are you talking about?
Yeah.
So when you say that, I imagine, you know, I do work through meditation and visualization. So getting people to just kind of you know, imagine themselves in different places, and why might you be drawn to that kind of place, and who's around you, what do you see, what do you smell, what can you touch and taste, and all of those things, using all of your senses. And it's not always just about being in one place, but it's about being in the energy of an environment that feels good for you and feels right for you. And so what I get a sense of is that, and this is my kind of layman's terms, and you know, kind of breaking that down, is that mountains are really powerful. They're strong. They're, you know, and they have a presence, and they can be beautiful and have lots of life around them, but they can also be scary places. And again, I come back to metaphors. You know, you've got a mountain to climb, and we use all these kind of negative metaphors around the scale and the presence of a mountain, which I guess is why when you're looking about how that translates to energy, it can feel overwhelming, because it is huge.
It is. And you know,
did I in any way describe that?
Yeah, you did. It's very hard to describe a land work. It's very, the only way I can describe it is when you're doing it, it's like more real than the real world, because you're doing such an ancient way of connecting and communicating, and things that seem so bizarre suddenly make so much sense. It's like you lock into an ancient knowledge that I believe we're missing, but we're not missing, because like you're saying, it's in our language, you know, like humans are the great personifiers, we're the great like storytellers, and we make sense of everything by making stories out of them. And I feel like when you are doing ceremony outside, you're really connecting to the stories, and you're so right. You know, the last place that this mountain project was Fuji, and like there is a difference between a mountain that is awake and a mountain that isn't. Like Fuji is recognized. It's seen as a goddess, as a spiritual being. It's praised, and you feel that when you see Fuji. It's like you almost want to bow. You know, like you're almost like, oh, this mountain's gonna tell me off. Or like, have I been good enough for this man? Like, there's that energy when you see Fuji, and you feel the presence of an alive mountain, as opposed to what people in my world would call a sleeping mountain, which is a mountain that isn't being praised because
it's not recognized.
Yeah, it's not being recognized for what it truly is. And then you've got that whole thing of like, how much is life force what we're witnessing? You know, like how much are we responsible for bringing? You know, the Japanese people are bringing the life force into Mount Fuji with their consciousness.
But they have a respect, a tradition, I think respect is the right word for the presence of that mountain that's culturally a symbol of strength, of probably history, of heritage, of tradition that is important. And it is interesting why some places have that versus others, but I guess it's in the storytelling over time, it's in the ceremony over time, and then that collective energy and that love is felt when people go there together, because they're there for a reason, and the intention of why they're there probably leads to that collective feeling of this is special.
See, you totally understand it. Like everything you're saying is absolutely what land work is. I believe that we are the ceremonialists of this planet. And like the bees are here to pollinate. The humans are designed for ceremony. We are designed to sing and praise and tell stories and translate and celebrate. And you know, just as if the bees stop pollinating, if the humans stop doing ceremony, it has this, like, to me, this devastating impact. You know, and so for me, it's so important that all of us do our ceremonial service in whatever way is right. You know,
and just full stop.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I have all these images flashing through my head I'm clearly a visual person. When you say that, because you know, we're losing a lot of tradition and ceremony. We're losing the connection that we have to where we are, our environment, but also to each other. And you're right, that sort of joyous celebration where it's not for a reason other than to be there in ceremony. God, it feels bloody good when you do it.
So good.
Even little things. Well, it's not a little thing because it's like the world's biggest festival, but Glastonbury's in Glastonbury for a reason, right? And how blooming great does everybody feel, drugs aside, when they're there and there's like that heartfelt celebration and you know. And I also believe singing and dancing together, which is ceremony, which is ritual. Oh, it gives me goosebumps. There's nothing better.
There's nothing, like, because it's us doing our pollination. It's us doing human pollination. You know, like.
Well, that's another story, but yeah. But I know what you mean.
But yeah,
it's a celebration.
It's us doing
thriving.
What we're meant to do, I believe. You know, and so, but at the same time,
we've gone the other way. We kind of. It's not that people don't care, but we don't celebrate.
Yeah, and we've kind of lost. We've lost so much. One of the things that ceremony has given me is understanding of passage, understanding of process, understanding of
ancestry.
Yeah, and for example, like I'm sitting here talking about like this mountain work, and I'm already in it. Like the ceremony's already begun. The process,
preparation.
the preparation, and like I understand it because I've done enough now to understand that if you truly want to connect with the land, she's going to take you on a journey, you know, like she's going to take you on a pilgrimage. If you want to truly meet a mountain, you don't just fly to the mountain and pay to go to the mountain. You have to meet the mountain in yourself, you know, and it's that pilgrimage that I feel like we've lost in our kind of McDonald's culture, in a way of like, I just want it now, you know. And that's part of what the land and land ceremony teaches you, is you will pilgrimage, you will find.
I mean, it worked for Christian Bale and Batman Begins. Again, that's right where my mind went. He went to the mountain with Liam Neeson. It's one of my favourite movies, and he went on that pilgrimage, and that's where he found his true self, and he became Batman. Right? He didn't go to the gym and just do some taekwondo. He went to the mountain and lived as a person. I do love that movie, as you can probably tell. But again, there's a reason for that ritual. There's a reason why that's part of probably why that movie showed that that's where he had that deep change and literally became Batman overnight because of that whole journey and process that he'd been to. But the respect for the culture and the mind and everything that went on there is all part of it. Watch the beginning of Batman Begins. That's
I will.
And maybe you'll become a ninja up a mountain as well.
Yeah.
Or you probably already are. In fact, I know you already are.
Maybe.
But yeah, that's that. I can't wait to hear more about your mountain journey, and do you get to the end of that? Is there like, hey, I've done that now? What does that journey feel like when you feel that you've connected and you've become Batman? What's your Batman moment at the end of that, or is there one, or is it a continuation and evolves into something else?
It always evolves. Once your heart's with the land, you're off. But I feel like, you know, often the Batman moment happens before. Like, I feel like it happened yesterday for me in the journey that, like, I was on that. I just know it's part of the preparation of going to Shasta. I just know it is.
Where is Shasta?
Shasta's in America,
Okay.
Northern California. It's
Okay.
another chakric center.
Right.
And
obviously very different from a Mount Fuji environment, different
Yeah.
type of mountain, different
Yeah,
landscape, different culture.
Yeah, and I've never been, so I won't know till I'm there, you know, really what it's all about. But
well, I know one of the other considered chakra places is Uluru in Australia,
which
and
is
that
where
is
this
another-
project ends.
There you go.
See, this
you
is
go.
what I mean about the fluency of land and life force.
Yeah.
And do you see how you're
I've never
just
been,
like,
but I've flown over it
Yeah.
and seen it from the sky, and I know how deeply sacred that is to the indigenous population in Australia. And you know, you can't walk on it now because it's like, you know, it needs to be protected. But people that I know that have been there have said it's so special when you're there. You do the sort of sunrise and sunset ceremony. It sounds, you know, I'd love to. Maybe I'll meet you there.
yeah, come next year.
I'll be in Australia. Yeah, no, that sounds amazing, and all very different. And again, I'd be interesting in the California one, if there is an indigenous ancestry and heritage. I'm sure there is around some of the.
Yeah, there definitely is, and that's the thing. Like, all land has indigenous and.
Of course.
You know, like,
of course.
like
because there's people that were before us and there'll be people that are after us.
All land has shamanism.
God, what do we leave behind this generation? That's another conversation.
Yeah.
Trouble, probably.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like something I've been playing with is that something that is sacred has life force flowing through it. Like that's what makes it sacred. You know, that's what defines it as sacred to me.
It has a life.
And ceremony is that way that humans encourage life force to flow through something. And so if humans can bring life force through a mountain, imagine what ceremony can do for you. And your life force energy, you know, it's like...
It's giving that meaning.
Yeah.
We give things meaning and almost sometimes give them power over us, but actually we've the one that we have created the meaning and the ritual, and forget perhaps sometimes that the energy that we put in is creating that, not being overshadowed by it. I think is what I'm trying to say. Like we're you know, you can feel good yourself by being part of that, not by moving away from it or being scared or overwhelmed that you can't step into something like that. Like, and you can do it gently.
Absolutely.
And you can jump.
Absolutely. And the other thing I think that ceremony really teaches you, and I have done ceremony in all weathers, is how much the weather will participate, how much everything will participate. It always rains
when you do ceremonies, doesn't it?
No, okay. It doesn't. Okay. But I have had. But you get these amazing moments of like sun coming out at exactly the breakthrough moment, or rainbows happening, and
oh yeah,
it's like the weather, because you're in communication, the weather like shows off. Do you know what I mean? Or like participates. When we participate, everything around us participates. And the timing, like to me, like all magic is in the timing. You know, it's like the timing of things will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And you don't get that when you're in the ceremony inside.
Yeah.
You only get that when, like, in the perfect moment, you call unconditional love and a puppy runs into the middle of the circle and gives everybody unconditional. You know, you have those kind of moments because the rest of consciousness is participating when you're in ceremony.
I love that, and I've been there with you and with friends of ours in those moments where those things have happened. And I also, from you know, my side of things, what I do in workplace and with coaching people, is that to me one of the first things in really feeling that and experiencing what you just said is by being aware. And you be aware by being in those moments more, because the sun comes out all the time. But what makes it special in that moment of ceremony is because you're fully present and you're looking for those moments of wonder. And you can find moments of wonder in any moment. But if you're not connected to where you are, who you're with and what's going on, they'll just go by. That butterfly will have gone past you.
Yeah,
you won't have noticed it. But if you're really present and you're like, ooh, I'm having a spine-tingling moment. I was just in Red Rocks in Denver in the US. Amazing place. That's a great mountainy area. Amazing, loved it. And it poured with rain. And we were all standing waiting to go into a concert. And it chucked it down with rain. But the two most beautiful rainbows came out.
Oh.
And we had this view over the whole valley from like the start of the Rockies, and it was just amazing. And funnily enough, I'd listened to something that morning and it told me to look for rainbows, and I couldn't believe it.
See, that's magic. Ceremony, synchronicity, like magic.
I go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Like I love all of those moments. But I stopped and I appreciated it and I commented it and I loved it and I like stood in it. But it would be really easy to go, it got delayed because of the weather, so I had to stand in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
Whereas we were like, we're standing in the pouring rain, but we saw two amazing rainbows. It's about context, it's about your mindset in that moment, and it's about that curiosity and wonder. It's easy to let it go by if you don't, you know, practice being in the moment, practice looking for the magic.
And how many rainbows do we miss? How many rainbows do we miss?
Inside.
Yeah, like how many rainbows do we miss?
Yeah.
How many? And how many? I think that's what I love so much about ceremony that is journeying. Whether it's a coaching journey that then give, like what you've just described is the same thing. It's like you get a message in the morning and then it's manifest by the afternoon, and is it strengthens your trust. It strengthens it
empowers you to
your
feel that you're in
ability to
control.
trust what is happening and not feel like it's all going wrong.
Well, for me, it's as well as being part of it and not it being you're doing this to you, not it being done to you. You are the controller in this environment, and you can find that magic. You can see things if you just look around, and no one's giving them to you. You are being more engaged with your life and the energy around you. And I love it when I practice things like, ooh, I'm going to look for something today. And you look for those moments of wonder.
You have a brilliant one about looking for new things, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. You look for something new. It's a great one to come out of meditation, and, you go, what do you notice that you didn't notice before?
I was so inspired when you told me that about looking for new things, because so often we get stuck in ruts. So often
nothing changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes every moment, all the time.
The weather changes all the time.
Every moment is we can't relive. Everything changes, because as soon as you've gone through a moment of time and experience, things have fundamentally shifted. We're never, we don't stagnate. And that's one thing when people get stuck in a mindset of I can't change. Just doing one little thing different in that next moment, or you walk a different way, you turn left, not right, you have tea, not coffee in the morning. Like, it's as trivial as those things sound, they create a process of change, and your mind begins to just open up a little bit. And the more that we do that and the more we practice it, all of a sudden we see the double rainbows.
Absolutely. And new always brings life force energy. New presence. Everything we're talking about is how to get life force energy back into your body.
So when you try something new, you're excited. You meet new people, you're excited. You get that shot of energy, the adrenaline, you're smiling right now. That's energy, and how that becomes a ripple effect to other people. Like that feels good, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'm smiling because rainbows give so much life force energy. Like, whenever people see rainbows, they become like children, and they're like, there's a rainbow, and it's like magical. And like, so often we have a rainy week and we stay in and we don't go out and get the life force hit that probably is there. Because there's probably a rainbow in Brighton for sure.
There's a song lyric somewhere about you don't get a rainbow without the rain or something. There's bound to be. If not, there should be.
No,
there definitely is. So yeah, you can really feel that. It's just that sense of curiosity, but it does, being outside and being in nature naturally tops up your life force. We're not supposed to be caged animals. We're not supposed to find our energy from inanimate objects.
No, we're supposed to being around other
living things,
and then there's the question of what is alive.
But I didn't want to go there today.
But I would say that, like, how we identify the difference between a living thing and not is actually life force, and it's when we recognize a certain level of life force energy in something. Like when we recognize, so we can recognize the difference between a dead body and a living body, and that is life force energy. There isn't anything
that's undeniable.
And I think we can recognize the difference between a plant and a plant pot because of life force energy, and whether there is And I think it's to do with degrees of life force energy, actually, because I think everything does have a certain amount of energy in it.
It's emitting something.
Yeah.
We're all just particles bashing up against each other at any given time.
For sure.
Yeah, love it. Love that chat. Well, you need to share with us your post-mountain journey,
I will.
the descent. So when do you see yourself getting to Uluru?
Next summer.
Next summer.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Amazing. That sounds like a really nice place to stop and reflect and maybe go for a walk.
Yeah, go and find a rainbow.
Let's get outside. Thank you so much, Kahreela. You've given me. I've got so much more life force than I did an hour ago. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I feel so full of the magic. We hope this conversation has topped up your life force energy. If it has, then please help us spread the life force. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And may the life force be with all of us.